It's time for this week's episode of Brandon Sports Talk, featuring in-depth interviews from those who are trending in the world of athletics. And now, here's the host of Brandon Sports Talk, Brandon Pate.
Welcome back to Brandon Sports Talk. In today's episode, I have the privilege to interview the Russ College head volleyball coach, Coach Zuzana Armstrong. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well. How about yourself?
I'm doing good. Can you talk about how you knew that you wanted to get started in coaching in collegiate volleyball?
Well, my road leads all the way back to junior high. Most coaches, started on their own career as a player first. Not all, obviously, but I started as a junior high player, played club, played high school, and um, as my journey kind of continued through college with track and field, my heart has always been in volleyball. So I knew a long, long time ago that I'm going to end up teaching young people. I'm going to end up being on the court because that's where I spent most of my adult life. So I knew I was going to coach. I just didn't know what level. And I was quite honestly, I was very happy at the high school level. I was happy at the middle school level. But there's just something about coaching collegiate volleyball it's so much fun because you're really dealing with other adults, but they're adults that are still growing into adults. So the learning is still there and it's really fun to watch.
Of course, what was that like getting to compete at Ole Miss for track and field?
Well, at first it was honestly a bit disappointing. Like I said, I started off as a volleyball player, and then I merged into track as a high schooler, and I just ended up being really good at the javelin. So when it came time to decide what to go to college for, it was actually very heartbreaking because I had to choose one over the other. And I am very fortunate that I got multiple offers for both, but I'm happy that I chose Ole Miss. It was amazing. I love Ole Miss. It's my second home. I will tell that to anybody. Teaching my kids to love Ole Miss, and it's just the culture, the education, the quality of instruction on the field, off the field. It was just everything I wanted from a college. So it was actually very amazing. I loved it.
What was your experience like getting to compete in Javel for Ole Miss track and field program?
Say it again.
What was that experience like getting to compete in Javel as a track and field athlete?
It was tough. It was tough because we never lifted weights in high school. We just kind of went out there and did our thing. So when I went to Ole Miss, it was such a slap in the face, kind of life hits you hard. You're in the weight room at 5 a.m. and then you have your first practice, then you have your second practice, then you have your, physical therapy. I actually ended up blowing my elbow out with the Tommy John surgery my freshman year. So it was very challenging, but I did love it. I did end up sixth in the conference that season. So it was a successful season, but it was very, very hard. A lot of hurdles to jump over.
Of course, being at Ole Miss and getting to compete in the SEC, what was that experience like competing in the SEC with those big schools like Georgia, Alabama, South Carolina?
That was you can't really describe it because you're really out there with the big dogs. You're out there with the best of the best, and every meet you're watching your teammates who are also a part of this beast group of people. You're cheering them on, and you're going against these other schools that everybody in the country knows, and it was exciting. It was exciting, and I think that's really what fueled me into wanting to stay in athletics. It's that adrenaline of knowing that you're out there competing every day with people that this is their craft, this is their art. So it's really beautiful. It's very exciting.
Of course, after your collegiate time, what was that experience like transitioning from being a javelin track and field to getting into coaching and going to a whole new sport of volleyball?
Well, it was actually a part of my graduation uh, requirements. So I ended up coaching at Lafayette High School and middle school my very first season as an official coach. I did it as part of my practicum for Ole Miss. So I actually ended up getting college credits for it as part of my graduating requirements. So I literally went from track right into volleyball or right back to volleyball. So it was turf that I had known for a long time, just haven't been there in a while. So the difficulty there was you're going kind of from an individual sport into a all team, everybody needs to work together. So there was definitely that challenge. But having been at Ole Miss, the coach that was actually she was the head coach. She graduated from Ole Miss as well. Her name was Erin Baker, I'm sorry. So she was familiar with Ole Miss. She was an alumni, so we connected very well. We're friends to this day. So it was actually really cool to be under her, learning from her as a coach, because it's definitely different than being the athlete transitioning to being a coach.
Of course, what was your experience like getting to coach on the high school level?
High school is kind of a preparation for college, so it makes it you're kind of trying to do two things at once. You're trying to engage them into a sport that they love, and you want them to love being there and have that team chemistry. And obviously, you want to win, but at the same time, you want to identify the athletes that are trying to go to the next level. So, the challenge there that I found with my high schoolers is how do you make everybody the sport, but at the same time, you push the right athletes the right way into going to the next level, and but not burning them out at the same time, because there's a fine line. I love coaching high school, like seeing my success stories, my athletes going to the next level. But I also love seeing the ones that choose not to go to the next level, but maybe they decide to stick around and coach, or they go and help out at the club level, something like that. So just seeing their involvement after graduating, that's really the exciting part for me.
Of course, for you, what was that transition like from being a high school coach to then coaching at a community college level?
So that was actually very interesting because Bunker Hill Community College is right outside of Boston, and they never had a women's volleyball team. So when the AD reached out and he said, I want you to go ahead and start a program for us, I was like, oh wow, I haven't been in the league long enough to really have the networking to try to pull any players in. It was a community college that did not have scholarships for volleyball. So recruiting was the first biggest challenge where I had to kind of step back and go, "Oh, I haven't done this before." So that was a wow. It was like fumbling in the dark. But I ended up with a phenomenal crew of young women that I keep up with to this day. Um, so the nice thing about that was just learning the ropes. And it was a nice low pressure environment because it had never had a team. So they allowed me to kind of, find my way. And sometimes that's how you learn the best is you find your own way and figure it out.
Or so what was that feeling like going to Bunker Community College and getting to build that program from the ground up and building it as your own program?
That was it was eye-opening, and it was quite comical many times because I ended up with athletes that were, I think I only had about three that were true ball players that have played any sort of sufficient volleyball in the past to know what they're doing. And then the rest of them kind of showed up and were like, yo, coach, we're ready to go. Let's play. And I'm teaching basics at the collegiate level. But the great part about it is they were so willing to learn. They did not care about, wins or losses. They just came because they loved the sport. They loved the environment. They loved each other. And I think that's when I kind of learned how important team chemistry is over any sort of skill. So it was actually it was a very teachable moment for me, a great learning opportunity.
Of course, as a coach, what were some of the things that you learned during your time at Bunker Hill, starting a program from the ground up and building it as your own?
Everything from to recruiting to staying professional under pressure, um, keeping up with your athletes. And really, I was still, because it was a community college, I was still working on recruiting my athletes out of the community college into a 4-year program. So it was almost a combination of high school and college, kind of trying to kill two birds with one stone. It was a lot of work. It was a lot of new things that I never knew. Um, so I kind of had to rely on my AD and my athletes to kind of go, just be very patient with me. We'll figure it out. So it was a learning experience for sure.
Of course, during that time at Bunker, what was that experience like going to those high schools and telling the high school programs about the community college program that you're building at Bunker?
It was, you know what? It all happened so fast because when we showed up in, our Bunker Hill uniforms, people immediately started asking questions. And because I had coached previously for the high school, it was almost I just got to come in and go, "Hey, we have a team now." And the people that had already been in the area were very excited about it, because they've been waiting for the school to have something. So the recruiting part really hard afterwards. It's really just finding the quality players as you build. Um, so obviously it's okay to start out with maybe a little less talent, a little less experience, but as you build, you start kind of raising that bar. Need to have some experience. Unfortunately, I had left at that point. We had moved to Texas, so I didn't get to stick around. But as far as I know, and I've heard and I've kept up with, the program's still holding strong. Really excited about that.
Of course, what was that transition like from moving to Texas to come to Russ College to be the next head coach?
So, we are a military family, so we only stayed in Texas for a year. I ended up moving to Mississippi after that year, and I first taught at Southland High School, which was really, really, really fun. We went from being kind of the underdog team, that hadn't really had, too much, um, too many awards or anything, recognition. So when I was able to get there and kind of turn the program around, the right people took notice. And I'm actually really proud of the fact that it was my athletes and my parents that were the first ones to go, hey, Russ College needs a coach. Can you come there and go ahead and build that program up? So as a coach, that's very, I feel honored because people are recognizing that, hey, she cares about these athletes. She wants them to do their best and she wants to see the program excel. So I've been really fortunate to transition into a school where I have an athletic director that fully supports what I do and how I do it. And having that support truly is huge.
Of course, what were some of the things that you took over from your time at Bunker College, Community College, to help you to transition to Russ College to become the head coach?
All the learning, all the learning. So what I learned really at Bunk, it's such a difference between being an athlete and it's such a difference between being a coach. You have to come in and make those relationships, but also throw down those boundaries and put all your expectations on the table for these young people who are really they're coming up out of high school and it's the learning never ends. I guess that's the one lesson that I've learned is that the learning for me as a coach never ends. I want to keep getting better as a coach. I want to keep making the mistakes that teach me the biggest lessons. So that's really been the biggest transition is the lessons that come with moving up and recruiting at a higher level and pushing your athletes to have the higher GPAs and wanting them to still love the sport no matter what. So that's really growing as a coach has really always been, I think, the biggest challenge, but it's also the most exciting challenge.
As a college coach, what was that transition like for you personally, going from a community college level to then going to a regular college like a D1, D2 level?
Well, having that scholarship money makes a lot of difference. I'm going to tell you that because education is expensive, and a lot of times you have athletes that have poured in. I mean, not even athletes; their parents have poured in thousands of dollars, including my own. So just like when I went to Ole Miss, that was me looking at my parents, going, "You see this full athletic scholarship? This one's for you, mom. This one's for you, dad. You guys did all this for me. This is." Me taking care of a bill that you don't have to worry about because you've helped me get there. So I kind of, having that money and having the ability to look at a family and go, you know what, you've poured in all this money. Your child has busted her butt in the classroom. here's what I can do for you to ease your financial burden. Here's what it is. Um, here's what it's like to have your child say, hey, I'm on an athletic scholarship. So that I think that's the biggest difference between going from a school like Bunker Hill to Russ College, where I can actually look at really higher level players who have poured into it and now they're getting it back.
What was that feeling like for you to what was that feeling like for you to get announced to become the next head coach for Russ College and get started working?
I was a little nervous. I'm going to be completely honest. I was very nervous because it is an HBCU. First of all, so I'm coming in, and mind you, I'm European born. I lived in New Hampshire my entire adult life until I came to Ole Miss. So it was kind of scary. I came in, I only knew one of the athletes, didn't know the staff, and it was kind of scary, kind of intimidating. But coming in and just being supported and just being shown all the love from everybody, from the athletes to the staff to the coworkers, it's been phenomenal. And I mean, that's why I love Rust. It's a family, so that's really been the greatest part of it.
As a head coach, what was that feeling like getting to step onto that volleyball court for the first time as a head coach for Russ College?
Humbling, very humbling. I believe, played our first home game sometime in August last year. That was a non-scrimmage game, and knowing what Rust volleyball was kind of viewed as prior to me coming, my biggest goal was just to show not just the talent of my players, but I wanted to show everybody that, you know what, this is a program that takes this sport seriously. Um, Now that I am here, these athletes are here to work. They're not here to, screw around. They're not here to act a fool. And I wanted to show just how amazing these young women are. And I think when they went out there and the season started with that first match, we had kind of a bumps in the road, but we held our own. We held our own. So standing on that court as the coach, it was pretty amazing, very humbling.
What was your experience like getting to start your own volleyball program of the 9001 Impact?
Okay, so 901 Impact came to be right after I came to Southwind to coach. Um, I was actually very amazed that only one out of the whole group of athletes that I had in front of me had been playing club volleyball. And when I kind of questioned the parents and questioned the athletes, it all came down to the cost. And I was honestly a little disappointed that there's a whole group of amazing athletes in the urban areas such as Memphis that are sitting there going, we can't afford to pay $6,000 for a season of club volleyball. But now as a coach, I'm also sitting here going, but if you don't play, you're losing out on 6 months of training. So somebody else is going to get chosen over you to go play collegiate volleyball if that's your goal. So 901 Impact was truly created um, for families that needed affordable instruction for volleyball, but they also needed a family. That it wasn't a politics driven club, it wasn't a money making club, it was we want you to be a part of this family, have an opportunity to grow, and hopefully see your child, you know, do what I did and look at you in the eyes later on and go, here, mom, this is for all you did for me. Here, dad, I'm moving on and getting that scholarship. So that was really the goal for 901 Impact all along.
Of course, how has 911 Impact helped you into getting the head coaching job at Russ?
I think it was a part of it. I don't think it was all that much at that time because 901 Impact had just kicked off the year prior to me getting hired. However, my networking, I think, had a good bit of it because I had been the coach at Southwind. I've spoken to many coaches within the Shelby County area. I did coach volleyball at what used to be the Soto Legacy Volleyball Club. So I think just knowing the coaches and the parents and really getting to time with them has helped a lot in me getting this position because people were able to look at our athletic director and go, yeah, when she comes in, she's going to get the job done. She's going to take care of that team. So I'm hoping, that there were conversations, that those were the conversations that were had.
What does a typical game day look like for you as a head coach versus for your players?
So typical game day at home is definitely a get up early, get yourself some good food. And a lot of times we will dine together. So there have been days where, I'm cooking up breakfast pancakes in the locker room, and it's an opportunity for us to bond. So I try to actually keep us together. Um, for me, home games have become kind of an opportunity for me to let the girls bond with me in the morning, take a little break, and then show up for game time. Now, between that time, obviously, they get to spend time together. I compose myself, make sure all of my plans for that day are done, my rotations are done. I make sure, I really don't have to do much, to be honest, right? Because my team of the staff here, they do such an incredible job. They make sure that the gym is ready. Everything is all set for me to do my job. So as a coach, I really just have to get myself mentally together and make sure that my athletes are ready to go, because everything else is already kind of done for me, which is a blessing. And I'm thankful for that.
What is that home game atmosphere like at Rust College?
Oh, it's amazing. Oh my gosh, it's amazing. I can give you one example that will stick with me, I think, forever. We were playing Lemoyne Owen, and they they were in our house, and I guess we haven't beaten them in years and years. And the stands are full. And at one point, I did like a little dance, and the crowd just lost it, and we ended up winning. And the crowd went nuts, the players went nuts, and it was just so beautiful to have that support from the staff and the students. And to be completely honest, if we have a game even away, I recall going to Blue Mountain for a scrimmage, and I kid you not, the whole stands was Rust College. These people showed up and showed out for these girls, and it was beautiful. It's like I said, it's family, and we're there for each other, and I love that.
Who are some of the teams that you faced in your conference?
So we play Dillard, Fisk, Wiley, Tougaloo, Philander Smith. Now we have Suno. So there's yeah, it's a tough conference. It's a tough conference. But it's a fun conference because I think by the end of the season, there were so many matches that we couldn't even have foreseen that, this team was going to take a set out of this team or a game from this team. So it's really exciting knowing that, it's kind of anybody's game. Just depends on who shows up to play.
Can you talk about, of course, the culture that you've helped to build for the program?
Of course. Family is going to be my number one word there. Sisterhood, it's a family. I tell the girls all the time, look, your family is the closest people to you. They have to know you inside and out, but you also got to realize family is the one that's going to push your buttons the easiest, because they know your triggers, they know your ins and outs. But as long as you know how to love them correctly and how to communicate with them, it can only lead to something beautiful. So the culture here that I have been building and continue to build, will continue building, is I want these girls to know this is your family. You cannot put Rust College volleyball on your resume, but you can use your sisters as a networking. You can lean on them in times of trouble, even years from now. So really just building that unit, that's my biggest goal and my biggest take.
What does that recruitment process look like for those prospective student athletes looking to play collegiate volleyball?
So definitely have film. I cannot stress that enough to any of my recruits. I know me as somebody that's come into a program that wasn't, where it needed to be, and it needed work. Raising that academic standard. I think that's been the toughest part, is coming in and saying, hey, I'm not accepting any recruits that don't have a GPA of 3.0 or higher. Because at the end of the day, I want you to graduate. So if you're coming in and you're not serious about your student work, your academics, what can I really do with you? So really just raising those standards year after year, season after season, that's definitely a challenge. But I want to continue doing it. I want to see my girls graduate. I want to keep them focused, taking care of those grades.
What does that official visit look like at Rust College?
So if you come on a visit to Rust, you're getting to see everything from the dorms to the CAF to the admissions building. You're going to get to see everything, gym, offices, everything. I don't believe in hiding anything from my prospects. So even the ones that, live far away, I have several that are coming from overseas. We made sure that we did a tour, a video tour, and we tell them the nitty gritty. Look, this is what it is. This is what it isn't. This is where you're gonna find some struggle. This is where you're gonna have to keep on top of things. But if you come and visit, you're definitely getting to see everything, because you do spend 4 years here, and that's a long time. So I want my parents of my athletes and my athletes to know what they're getting into. That way, they're comfortable and they know exactly what it is.
As a head coach, what is it like seeing those freshmen get to put on that Rush uniform for the first time?
It's bittersweet because they don't understand just how fast it flies. They don't comprehend that they're gonna blink and they're gonna be seniors, and it's gonna be over for many of them. Collegiate volleyball is most often the end of the road for many, unless they end up going to play, semi-pro or continue some adult league of some sort, or they coach. So it is a bittersweet moment because it's the beginning of the end. Um, and they don't realize it. And it's such a quick journey, quick and beautiful journey.
What is it like to see those seniors get to put on that uniform for the last time and then go into playing professional volleyball, whether it's Athletes Unlimited, the US, or overseas?
So I've only had one graduate this first season with us. She was actually a um, triple sport athlete, if that's a thing. She played basketball, volleyball, and track and field. And seeing her graduate, oh my gosh, the tears were real, because this was a student athlete who was going pro in basketball, and she was my GCAC second team um, winner as well. She was on the 4x4 team that ended up, I believe, getting second place in track and field. So she was just a bombshell of a young lady and an amazing player, athlete, student. Um, it's sad. It's sad, but it's so joyful, just to see them accomplish that dream. So yeah, it's a lot like seeing those freshmen, but just on the opposite end at this point.
What is it like to see those seniors go on and achieve great things, whether it's playing professional volleyball or getting into college coaching?
It's actually very cool. A lot of them will reach out and let me know, hey, can you put in can I use you as a reference, or can you call so and so? Do you have any connection? That's the exciting part. I love seeing them move on to the next big thing, and really even the ones who don't choose to stick with the sport. They it's nice to just see them live their lives and keep up, getting married, having kids, traveling the world, whatever it may be, getting new jobs. All of that is really exciting because I get to be honored to just be a part of a small part of that journey.
Of course, what advice would you give? What are some of your future plans in College for the volleyball program?
So the volleyball program is actually picking up a JV team this year because I think after people saw that, hey, Russ is doing something volleyball, that's good, why not? And having learned to get to know my students, get to know my parents, having that support as well from other students going, hey, I have this, there's a person that was playing against me in class, who's amazing, and she's looking for a place, and I think Russ would be great for her. We've grown so much this year in our roster that we get to actually have a JV team, which to me as a coach is fantastic because I get to build up a whole group, of women who may not have gone anywhere otherwise, first of all, and second, I'm building them up to be the next varsity or, to move up and fill in positions filled in. So just the growth of the program in bodies to me is huge and telling, and I feel honored that people are trusting me with their children, with their young athletes.
What advice would you give those future college athletes looking to go into playing collegiate volleyball?
Stay on top of your grades. It's getting so competitive, especially in athletics, is a lot of times the coaches have to really look and go, here's a very athletic player with a 2.5, and here's the same athletic player with a 3.5. Obviously, I'm going to choose the 3.5 kid because I know that you're going to take your stuff seriously. Attitude is the next big one. I can't tell you how many coaches I've spoken to where the athlete looks great on film, has the GPA even, and then you speak to the coach and they go, you know what, coach, you don't want this one. Her attitude is crazy or um, anything like that. So keeping that attitude in check, keeping on top of the grades, and making sure that you take no days off, really, because if you take it seriously, um, and this is what you want, if you're not the working, somebody else is. So the go-getters, those are the ones that will last in recruitment at this point.
What advice would you give those college athletes looking to go into playing professional volleyball, whether it's Athletes Unlimited, the US, or internationally?
You definitely have to get that networking in. I would say take every opportunity to meet as many people as you can on the court, off the court. Don't be shy to, see people that you might not have otherwise made the trip to see. That's a whole different level of commitment. I have a couple right now that are talking about wanting to go pro at some point or playing overseas. And I looked at them and I said, what you're doing right now. So what you do with me is great. What are you doing when you're not? What are you doing when you're off the court? Are you eating well? Are you getting your sleep? Are you doing the little things that somebody else isn't doing? Because at that point, that was going to make a difference.
Of course, what advice would you give those college athletes that are looking to get into college coaching after their collegiate career?
I would say reach out to the coach that you feel that done you justice. I was fortunate enough in my coming up, I had incredible coaches. My club coach up in New Hampshire, Coach Sheehan, he owns Hard Rock Volleyball Club. And he is just a phenomenal coach. He coached me literally the time I was 12 till I graduated. I still keep up with him to this day. Coach Connolly, he was my high school coach, who just, I mean, this man lit the fire under me. And I was able to go back to them and go, hey, I'm looking to coach. Can you help me out? Do you have something? I think that's where you get to start. You get to go back to your roots. I think that's the best way to go, especially with people that you trust. So if you've had coaches that you can trust that have done right by you, um, I can't imagine a good coach ever turning down a solid athlete going, hey, I want to continue this. Because that's really a reflection of our job. Have I done a good job as a coach? If you're reaching out to me saying, hey, I want to come coach for you, or I want to come coach somewhere, can you put in a good word for me? So I would say keeping those relationships positive with those coaches, it's a lot, that networking.
What advice would you give those future coaches that are looking to become head coaches and run their own volleyball program?
Um, you gotta stay on your P's and Q's, be positive, know that there's gonna be hurdles, but you gotta be ready to overcome them.
That's great advice. Where can my listeners find you at on social media along with the volleyball program at?
So we have Russ Volleyball is our Instagram page. We post quite a bit. I also coach track and field here at Rust, so we have Rust Track. Uh, Instagram is definitely the way to go. Rust Athletics, also following GCAC pages. Anything Rust, that's where we're at. So that's one way to follow along. We do live stream our games. So if you go on our website on game day, you'll definitely be able to watch. on YouTube. So that's one way to really follow along.
Thank you again, Coach Zuzana Armstrong, for your interview, and best of luck in your future as the head volleyball coach for Rusk College.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you. You can find Brandon Sports Talk on Instagram at Brandon Sports Talk, Twitter at Talk_Brandon, and you can find me on YouTube at Brandon Sports Talk. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you again, Coach Zuzana Armstrong, for your interview, and best of luck in your future.
Thank you.
You've been watching Brandon Sports Talk. Please feel free to like, share, and subscribe to Brandon Sports Talk on social media and on YouTube.